It is such an honor to present the S. Roger Horchow Award to Greg Mortenson. Greg is the author of The 3 Cups of Tea and co-founder of the Central Asia Institute, which promotes and supports community-based education in remote regions of Pakistan and Afghanistan. He is credited with establishing more than 70 schools in rural and often volatile regions, which provide education to over 25,000 children, including 14,000 girls, where little education opportunity existed. Please turn your attention to the monitors to see more of Greg's story.
This year, the Jefferson Awards is proud to present the S. Roger Horchow Award for Greatest Public Service by a Private Citizen to Greg Mortenson. This is K2, the second highest mountain in the world, located on the Pakistan-China border. In 1993, Greg Mortenson climbed K2 to honor the memory of his sister who had died the previous year. During the climb, Greg ended up spending time in a Pakistani village so poor that it couldn't afford the $1 a day salary to hire a teacher for its children. Deeply moved by the experience, he vowed to raise money for a schoolhouse and to help give the children of the village the education they deserved. And he more than kept his word. From the seed of that one promise, Greg ended up founding the Central Asia Institute, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting and promoting community-based education and literacy, especially for girls in remote regions of Central Asia. To date, Greg has established over 60 schools in rural, often volatile areas throughout Pakistan and Afghanistan. Schools providing education to more than 25,000 children, including some 14,000 girls. And many of these literate young women are already giving back, helping to improve the health and quality of life in their own villages. For changing the world one educated mind at a time, the Jefferson Awards is pleased to honor Greg Mortenson.
Thank you, and Sam, happy birthday. Thank you, and also to the board and to everyone here. It's such an honor. I'm very humbled by this. We spent a lot of time in the news reading about the bad news, but I've got some really good news for you. I've worked now in Pakistan, Afghanistan for 16 years. I've spent about 78 months in the field. I'd like to ask you a question. How many of you know the fact that in Afghanistan in 2000, there were 800,000 kids in school? Today, 8 years later, there are 8.5 million children in school, including 2.6 million females. And how many? I'd just like to put some pressure on the meeting. How many of you were aware of that fact before I told you that in this whole room? Okay, the media, you've got your job cut out for you. I think, we can drop bombs, we can hand out condoms, we can put in roads, we can put in electricity, but unless girls are educated, a society will never change. And I think education should be our top priority, especially including education for girls. I really know this because I never finished my school, but my wife, Tara, has a PhD, my mother has a PhD, and it goes in my family, but really I think it's education that is the difference. I had the great honor to grow up in Africa, in Tanzania, for 16 years, and as a child I learned a proverb that I've never forgotten. This again has to do with girls' education, but it says if we educate a boy, we educate an individual. But if we can educate a girl, we educate a community. I wrote a book about my experience called 3 Cups of Tea, and I'm not out here to promote the book, but what 3 cups of tea means is that the first cup, you're a stranger, second cup, a friend, and the third cup, you become family. And for a family, we're prepared to do anything, even die. I'm a military veteran, so I spent a lot of time with the military on my own volition. We don't receive any federal money at all, federal funding. But I talked to the troops, and many of our senior commanders have read 3 Cups of Tea. Secretary Gates made it mandatory reading for all our senior commanders. General Petraeus read 3 Cups of Tea last year, and he sent me an email. Being a military general, he summarized it in 3 bullet points. This is what I learned from your book. Number 1, we have to build relationships. Number 2, we need to listen more. And number 3, we need to have respect, meaning that we are there to serve not only the good people of America, but the good people of Afghanistan, and that is today reflected in our policy. What is also happening in Afghanistan is that the number of land ownership and titles and deeds for land ownership by women is skyrocketing. And so I think we need to focus on the positive news, and also I think we really need to embrace our global family. People who are in public service or voluntary service, we get credit for it, but the people who really deserve the credit, I think, are our families, our spouses, our mothers, and our supporters. And I get criticized quite a bit. People say, well, you're off traipsing around the world doing your own thing, but what if, you're neglecting your duties as a father and a husband. And I think it's anything but that, and it's our families who make the greatest sacrifice of all, our children, our spouses, and our support network, the millions of people in voluntary or community service or public service or the military. So I'd like to thank those people, and I'd especially like to thank my wife, Tara, tonight for the many blessings of many years and your support and love. We have a program, we've not only focused on girls' education in Afghanistan, Pakistan, but here in the US we have a program called Pennies for Peace. And it's a very small program, but it's a very powerful program. It's in about 4,000 schools this year. And the goal is to teach children about community service and philanthropy. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are enough pennies in the US that we could do 2 things with those pennies. We don't need billion-dollar bailouts. It's never going to happen for education. There are enough pennies in the US that we could eradicate global literacy and double our national education budget for 1 year. So we have about 1.5 million children around the world collecting pennies, and their goal is just that, so that every single child on this planet, 110 million children can't be in school or can be in school today. I'd like to just close with very briefly that I think it's really easy to be pessimistic. But when you look at community service, I think that's where the real hope for the future is. In 1970, 30% of college graduates said, I want to go out and make a difference in the world. And that was a day, as you met Mr. Horchow, when the Peace Corps first started. That was a day of guitars and bell-bottom jeans and right at the Vietnam War. By 1990, 1 generation later, it dropped to 18%. It went in half. Today, 40% of college graduates say, I want to go out and make a difference in the world. And it's very easy to be despondent on the next generation, but I think that the real hope for peace is with our children, and we have to embrace that and give them role modelship, and it certainly happens with the hundreds of people here that through community and public service, we really can make the world a better better place. I see peace is a better place, right? So we can make the world a better place. So thank you, and God bless you.